All right, let's dive in. Today, we are embarking on a journey into the single most complex object we know of in the entire universe. And the wildest part? You've got one right now, sitting inside your own head. We're going to unpack the human brain.
So, just imagine, what if you could take a guided tour of that 3-pound universe? Well, guess what? That is exactly what we're about to do. We're going to check out its geography, uncover its secret operations, and even take a peek into its future. But first things first.
Every good tour needs a map. You can't just dive in blind. Before we can even begin to understand the really cool stuff, things like memory or consciousness, we've got to get the lay of the land. We need to understand the fundamental geography of your brain.
So if you zoom way out, your brain has kind of 3 main sections. You've got the huge cerebrum on top. That's the classic wrinkly gray stuff you always see in pictures, and it's home base for all your conscious thought. Then, tucked underneath at the back is the cerebellum, which literally means little brain. This guy is the master of coordination and balance. And finally, connecting it all down to your spinal cord is the brainstem. This is the oldest, most ancient part, and it handles all the vital things you never have to think about, like breathing or your heart beating.
Now, let's zoom in on that big cerebrum. It isn't just one big blob. It's actually divided into 4 specialized zones, or lobes. Right up front, you have your frontal lobe, which acts like the CEO of the whole operation. It handles planning, your personality, and making decisions. Just behind that is the parietal lobe, which processes all your sensory info like touch and helps you figure out where you are in the world. On the sides, the temporal lobes are absolutely key for hearing, language, and importantly, forming memories. And then all the way at the back, the occipital lobe is your brain's dedicated movie screen. It's where all visual processing happens.
Okay, but hidden deep inside those temporal lobes is a little structure with a truly fascinating job. It's called the hippocampus. The best way to think of it is as the brain's master indexer. It's not where memories are actually stored for the long haul, but it is absolutely essential for creating new long-term memories. Without this little seahorse-shaped part, you couldn't hold on to new facts or events. It's our gateway to the past.
So, the hippocampus is our gateway. Now that we have our map, let's get into the really good stuff. Let's explore how all this incredible hardware actually weaves together the fabric of our lives, our memories, our dreams, and what makes you, well, you.
You know, memory feels like magic, doesn't it? But really, it's a process we can break down into 3 key stages. First up, encoding. Your brain has to take in sensory information and change it into a format it can actually store. Second, storage. That information has to be maintained, locked in over time. And finally, there's retrieval. That's the act of going back and pulling the information out when you need it. If any one of those stages fails, the memory is just gone.
So what happens when one of those stages just breaks? Well, a huge amount of what we now understand about memory comes from the tragic, real-life story of a man who lost the ability to make new ones. His name was Henry Mollison, but for decades he was known to science only as patient HM. Back in 1953, he underwent a radical brain surgery to treat his epilepsy, and they removed most of his hippocampi. That single event completely changed everything we thought we knew about memory.
After that surgery, Henry was trapped in the present moment. He could remember his childhood perfectly, but he was completely unable to form any new long-term memories. He once described his life with this haunting line: "Every day is alone in itself, like waking from a dream." Imagine that. He would meet his doctors, talk with them for an hour, and the very next day, they would be complete strangers to him all over again.
But here's where the story gets absolutely incredible. His explicit memory, the conscious memory of facts and events, was gone, shattered. But his implicit memory, the unconscious memory for skills, was perfectly fine. They had him practice this tricky motor skill, drawing a shape by only looking at its reflection in a mirror, and day after day, he got better and better at it. But here's the kicker. Every single day, he swore he had never seen the puzzle before in his life. His hands remembered what his conscious mind couldn't. This was a bombshell discovery. It proved memory isn't just one thing, it's different systems in different parts of the brain.
So HM taught us how memories are formed, but dreams might be the key to how they're processed. What about that whole mysterious world? Well, one of the leading theories is that dreaming is a form of overnight therapy. During REM sleep, the emotion centers of your brain are on fire, but, and this is the important part, the key stress chemicals in your brain are completely shut off. This unique state might let us process emotional experiences with all the anxiety, stripping the painful edge off our memories.
This brings us to right now, to our brains in the modern world. Think about it. This is an ancient organ. It evolved over millennia, for a very physical, very different environment. And now we've thrown it headfirst into the digital age. So how's it coping?
Take a look at this number, 47 seconds. That's it. According to research, that is the average amount of time an office worker today will focus on a single screen before they either switch to another task or get interrupted. 47 seconds. Just a decade ago, that number was 2.5 minutes. Our attention spans are fragmenting.
And this gets to one of the biggest myths of our digital lives, the idea of multitasking. It's not a real thing. Your brain can't actually focus on two complex tasks at once. What it's really doing is switching back and forth really, really fast. And every single switch has a penalty. It's called a switch cost. A little bit of mental energy and time is lost. Done all day long, it completely exhausts your brain. You perform worse, and you actually end up making more mistakes.
So what we're seeing is this massive cognitive trade-off. Our brains are adapting, for sure. We're getting incredibly skilled at scanning huge amounts of information very quickly, at breadth. But what we're losing is the neural architecture for depth. We're losing the ability for that sustained, deep focus, the kind you need for contemplation or getting lost in a good book.
This is even changing how we remember. It's a phenomenon called the Google effect. See, our brains are efficient. They've learned that there's no point in wasting energy storing a piece of information you can look up in 2 seconds. So instead of remembering the fact itself, your brain prioritizes remembering where to find it. The internet is literally becoming an external hard drive for our memory. And all of this leads us to the final and maybe the most mind-bending part of our tour. We're heading to the frontier, the place where brain meets machine, and the line between biology and technology, it just starts to dissolve. We're talking about brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs. A BCI is a direct communication link between your thoughts and a device. It reads your brain activity and translates it into a command, completely skipping over your body's nerves and muscles. It is the ultimate interface.
Right now, these things come in 2 main flavors. You've got the non-invasive kind, like a cap with sensors that you just wear on your head. It's safe and easy, but the signal is a bit noisy because it has to read through your skull. Then you have invasive BCIs. These require surgery to place tiny electrodes right on or even in the brain. It's high risk, obviously, but the signal you get is crystal clear, which allows for much finer control.
And the results we're seeing already are nothing short of miraculous. BCIs are letting locked-in patients, people who are fully conscious but can't move or speak, communicate just by thinking. They're allowing people with paralysis to control robotic arms to feed themselves. This isn't science fiction. This is happening in labs and clinics today.
But this incredible power forces us into a complete ethical maze. I mean, who owns the data that comes from your brain? Could a BCI alter your decisions without you even knowing it? If these technologies are expensive, will they create a new kind of inequality, a neuro divide between the enhanced and the unenhanced? And the deepest question of all, what does it even mean to be human when our minds are directly plugged into machines?
And that's where we have to end our tour. We started inside this 3-pound universe in our heads, a product of pure biology. We're ending on a new frontier, looking at a future where biology is no longer the whole story. So I'll leave you with this final question. As mind and machine begin to merge, who do we become? That's the question this technology is forcing all of us to consider.